In our national lead today, we have some new information about a shooting at an Albuquerque protest. Police have arrested and charged a man for shooting and critically wounded a protester while at a rally to tear down a statue of Spanish conquistador Juan de Oñate. Members of a self-described vigilante group, the New Mexico Civil Guard, were there wanting to protect the statue, they said, which has now been removed by the city. I want to bring in CNN security correspondent Josh Campbell. And Josh, we're just getting some new information about this chaotic situation in New Mexico. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's right, Jake. A violent confrontation last night in New Mexico between protesters and so-called counter-protesters. As you mentioned, this was at the site of a statue. These protesters were calling for the end of police brutality. This is one of many of these protests that we have seen across the country in the wake of the death of George Floyd. Now, at this incident, we saw on video, their social media video, these protesters showed up in heavily armed tactical gear. The so-called vigilante group, the governor, they're calling it part of the Civil Guard, and they were there, as they say, to protect the statue. Now, it turned violent because one particular protester made his way into the group, and it's not clear whether this individual was actually associated with this heavily armed militia type outfit, but the confrontation ensued. You saw a scuffle on a video. The suspect then moved back and retreated, and according to a criminal complaint from police officers, actually sprayed pepper spray towards the demonstrators and then opened fire during an encounter. Now, according to this criminal complaint, the suspect himself was assaulted by members of these protests. Just a very violent confrontation here, and this has been the question as we've covered so many of these protests, Jake, is it's not just protesters and rioters versus police, but the question has been, are there other elements at play as well? People who are there to try to take the law into their own hands. It appears that was the case. You see on this video members of the Civil Guard then surrounding the person who fired the weapon. He is now in custody, a 31-year-old charged with aggravated battery. One person is currently in the hospital in stable but critical condition, Jake.
That's right. We've seen inappropriate violence, assault by police, by protesters, by counter-protesters. Tell us more about this group that the police say that this guy might have been a member of, the man who's been arrested.
Yeah, so we've been trying to get comment from them about what transpired at this incident. Thus far, we've heard nothing from this group, but we've seen members in different areas at different protests, again, showing up, people who disagree with those who are protesting against police violence. And again, this incident, they're turning very violent. We're told by law enforcement sources that their focus now is to go through social media video, Facebook posts, videos that were online to try to identify every person that was there to try to determine whether they were associated with this violence and then seek further action. That investigation very much remains ongoing right now, Jake, there in New Mexico.
All right, Josh Campbell, thank you so much.